From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Welcome, this is 1680 The Crow, and I'm Melanie Levesque. 11 people have been transported to hospital after a bus containing high school students hit a home in Burnaby this morning. The crash, which also involved two vehicles, led to BC Emergency Services dispatching 6 ambulances to the scene on Canada Way near 16th Avenue. All the victims were taken to hospital in stable condition. Burnaby RCMP says it seems no one was seriously injured in the accident and are promising to release more details soon. Canada Way has been closed between 17th Avenue and Graham Avenue. According to the U.S. White House, there will be a short pause in the war in Israel. Karen Travers of ABC News has more.
The White House says Israel agreeing to a daily 4-hour pause in strikes on areas of northern Gaza is a, quote, step in the right direction. National Security spokesman John Kirby told reporters Thursday the pause will allow for more humanitarian aid into localized areas in Gaza and could provide enough of a window of time to help civilians get to safety. As for the hostages held by Hamas,
it could also provide brief windows of opportunity for safe passage for those hostages from where they're being held to safer ground.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Coming back to Canada now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the pauses must last long enough for people to leave the area and for help to arrive.
We have to start using them to start thinking about what the medium term and long term is, how we're going to get to a viable Palestinian state alongside a viable Israeli state of Israel, Jewish state of Israel, where they are both secure.
As of today, 40 Canadians were on the list to travel from Gaza to safety in Egypt. Of those 40, 31 were able to cross over successfully. Last night, 2 Jewish schools were shot at in Montreal. Staff arrived in the morning to find bullet holes in the school's building. Police say luckily no one was inside the building during the time of the shooting. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also reminded citizens to stand against hate.
Right now, while this conflict and crisis rages in the Middle East, Canadians have an opportunity and therefore a responsibility to look to be there for each other. Not to necessarily agree. Our diversity includes diversity of perspectives and opinions, but not to hate.
Yesterday, 3 people were hurt and 1 was arrested at Montreal's Concordia University after several violent incidents related to the war in the Mideast. The Vancouver police say they have received many tips about the location of an escaped sex offender, Randall Hopley. Hopley left a halfway house on Saturday and remains missing. VPD also mentioned that they are aware he took a bus after 3 p.m. near the halfway house in the city's downtown east side and then took off his ankle monitor an hour later. It is also believed he is purposefully evading police and may have found a rural or isolated place to hide. The VPD believes the disappearance is connected to the fact that he was supposed to attend trial on Monday for breaching the conditions of his release. Currently, 18 officers are working on the case. Locally, a temple is expecting a large crowd for the Diwali celebration this Sunday. BCIT reporter Jagraj Lally has more.
The Ross Sikh Gurdwara, illuminated with candles and oil lamps, is preparing for Diwali, the festival of lights. Beyond the festivity, the festival signifies Guru Har Gobind Sahib's release and the unity of diverse communities. Seva, or selfless service, is a cornerstone of Sikh faith, exemplified by the temple's free food langar service, open to all without any expectation of reward. With Diwali approaching, the temple anticipates hosting up to 5,000 people as Sikhs contribute a portion of their income and weekly groceries for langar. The level of donations received depends on the number of visitors, but the Ross Sikh Gurdwara stands as a hope of unity and charity for all. This Sunday night, it will be the place to be. Jagraj Lally, 1680, The Crow.
We are now joined by BCIT reporter Jagraj Lally for more on this story. Jag, how does the Ross Sikh Temple prepare for Diwali, and what is the expected turnout for the Diwali night celebration?
Well, Melanie, the Ross Sikh Temple celebrates Diwali by expecting a gathering of up to 5,000 people on Sunday night. Sikhs are going to contribute a portion of their income as they do so during the week to the Gurdwara and donate weekly groceries for langar, which is the communal kitchen service. The frequency of langar services varies among gurdwaras, which is another word for the Sikh temple, depending on the number of visitors they receive, with some offering it around the clock and others serving it once or twice a day.
And what is the significance of Diwali for this Ross Sikh temple, and how do they celebrate it?
Diwali holds a special significance for the Ross Sikh temple as it commemorates the release of Guru Har Gobind Sahib, the sixth Guru of the Sikhs, from a Mughal prison and his return to Amritsar, which is the holiest city for Sikhs. It's marked by lighting hundreds of lamps at the Golden Temple. The day is known as Bandi Chhor Divas, which is also known as the Day of Freedom. However, the primary importance of Diwali for the Ross Sikh Temple in Vancouver is that it unites diverse communities, and it has evolved into a community event that connects neighborhoods. Back to you, Melanie.
Thank you, Jag. A woman who was repatriated from a Syrian prison camp last year after getting married to an ISIS fighter has been placed on an 8-month terrorism peace bond. Kimberly Pullman must follow a number of conditions and could face prison time if she breaches these. She must follow a curfew, wear an electronic monitor device, and not speak to her ex-husband, as well as stay in BC. New legislation was introduced today in the House of Commons by Labour Minister Seamus O'Regan that would ban federal employers from using replacement workers during strikes and lockouts. If applied, all federal workplaces, including airports and public services, will be fined $100,000 a day for each violation. O'Regan says he hopes everyone will realize the benefits of this bill.
And when the time comes, I hope that every MP in Parliament, Liberals, New Democrats, the Bloc, the Greens, the Conservatives, will stand up and vote to keep collective bargaining free and fair, to ban replacement workers.
The legislation would also include exceptions, allowing workplaces that ensure safety, health, and protection of the environment and property to hire replacement workers if deemed reasonable. Air Canada is offering an apology and is making changes to its policy after a meeting with federal ministries in Ottawa this week. This is due to several incidents involving passengers with disabilities, including one that led to a passenger having to drag himself off a plane. The airline says they are going to change the way mobility aids like wheelchairs are stored and on board, and also to make improvements to the boarding process. They said they will be offering more training to thousands of employees. Ontario is planning to ban employers from requiring Canadian work experience on job postings or application forms. Labour Minister David Piccini says those that are new to Canada deserve more chances to contribute to their fields of experience. He also said that this ban would stop employers from screening out workers with international experience before they have a chance to be interviewed.
Unfortunately, recent immigrants with a bachelor's degree are twice as likely than their Canadian-born counterparts to work in jobs that require only a high school education. This is unacceptable. Underemployment is something we have a shared and collective responsibility to address.
Piccini mentioned the new rule will be introduced with other labor law changes on Tuesday, along with other guidelines that require employers to disclose salary rangings in job postings and offer more benefits for injured workers. Dr. Sandeep Gandhi has been removed as the deputy leader of BC's Green Party after he liked a social media post comparing Dr. Bonnie Henry to a Nazi doctor. Green Party leader Sonia Furstenau confirmed this in a statement made last night. Gandhi first took the role of deputy leader in January. He used to work in pediatrics and surgery at the BC Children's Hospital and has recently been critical of the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. U.S. authorities are investigating letters sent to local election officials that were filled with fentanyl. Alex Stone of ABC News has more.
Officials in Washington state and in Georgia are acknowledging suspicious envelopes with powdery substances in them have been arriving. Spokane police say one was sent to the Spokane County Elections Office. It was negative for chemical or biological agents and explosives, but it was positive for fentanyl. Police say other offices in Washington state had received similar envelopes. In Georgia, the FBI says letters were sent to ballot counting centers nationwide, including in Atlanta. Alex Stone, ABC News.
As the actors' strike in Hollywood has ended as of today, audiences can expect the shows and movies they have missed over the 4-month strike to return soon. President and CEO of Canada's largest movie theater chain, Cineplex, says he wants audience to know that new movie releases are on the way.
Everybody still is asking what's going to happen going forward. Yes, there'll be a delay or two, but the bottom line is these movies aren't disappearing. They're just going to be shifting slightly, and that to me is very important.
Moviegoers can expect new films such as Aquaman's sequel and a new Willy Wonka film to be showing in theaters soon. Online sales for Taylor Swift's concert are scheduled to start today, but not everyone will be able to buy a ticket. Fans that won the ticket lottery yesterday will receive a pre-sale code and are not guaranteed a seat, as the tickets will be sold on a first-come, first-served basis. Now for sports. Western University's women hockey coach, Candice Moxley, says she is returning to the ice after being involved in a controversy that led to calls to boycott games. Last week, she was cleared of wrongdoing after investigation in which some players said they were forced to play while injured. During the investigation, 45 individuals involved with the team were interviewed, and it was determined that some allegations were substantial, but those against Moxley were not legitimate. The doping case involving Russian figure skater Kamila Valieva is taking place over the next 2 days. The 15-year-old skater is tested positive for tritazine at the Winter Olympics in 2022, a heart medicine that can boost endurance. In December of 2022, Valieva said that she accidentally ingested the drug. A final ruling on the case may not be reached for several months, and athletes from the figure skating team event of the 2022 Olympics have still not been awarded medals. The two teams with the fewest points in the NHL are going to square off tonight when the Edmonton Oilers visit the San Jose Sharks. The Oilers have lost 3 straight games and 7 of their last 8 games, including a loss to Vancouver on Monday. The San Jose Sharks are also struggling as they narrowly avoided having the worst start in NHL history. Today in Vancouver, it is 9 degrees Celsius and mostly cloudy. For the rest of the day, you can expect rain. That's all for your 12 news. I'm Melanie Levesque, and this is 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Well, another Halloween season has come and gone. As usual, it's time for spooky activities like carving pumpkins or trick-or-treating, traditions that have stayed relatively the same for over 100 years.
Costumes are another popular part of Halloween celebrations, but it's one of the few aspects of the holiday that have progressively changed over time, not only because of what might be trending that year, but also because costume cultural appropriation awareness has given us an understanding that some costumes need to be taken off the table completely. But sometimes the line between culture appropriation and culture appreciation can be fine and foggy. Hi, I'm Aaliyah Andres.
And I'm Caitlin No, and we're your hosts for the Culture and Costumes Navigating Boundaries podcast. And today we're diving into what makes or breaks a Halloween costume that portrays a different culture and how they've evolved over the decades. So let's start with how dressing as different cultures for Halloween began. The act of dressing in Halloween costumes in North America has been around for more than 100 years, and if people chose to dress up as a different culture, it was parts of traditions that had been stolen, stereotyped, or inaccurately represented.
Vivian Gosselin, who is the director of exhibitions and collections at the Museum of Vancouver, has seen many traditional costumes and belongings throughout her career, and says the Halloween costumes would always be made up of the same stereotypical depictions of a certain culture, because that's what society understood them to look like.
If you're copying or trying to represent a culture you don't know, you'll have to go with the lowest common denominator, right? Because very caricatured. It can't be subtle because people won't know, because we don't know those cultures. It's always going to be the same kind of reductive elements because people are like, oh yeah, they're trying to do the, the Sarah, princess, because we don't have a lot of references. When we start looking at the sourcing, how it came in to live in museum collections, we know that some pieces have been stolen. It was really about historically marginalized communities that, on top of that, didn't even have the agency of talking about their own stories.
But as time went on and costumes labeled Native American, Gypsy, or Egyptian that were formerly popular in shops started to be taken down, it became clear that the aim wasn't to represent traditional culture, but to use its stereotypes for profit.
Part of the discussion was it's not okay in gift shops, for example, to sell, Pocahontas costumes. We just told you who we are. This is like Disney that's trying to, create more merch and sending stuff without context. The idea that you can extract natural resources and cultural resource from all over the world, it's okay as long as you can sell it. And I think the costume is kind of in stores like that for sale. It's just one of those manifestations.
Aaliyah and I went to the streets of downtown Vancouver to see if we could find any costumes portraying other cultures. While most costumes we saw were popular movie characters, pop culture references, ghouls, or comedy related, we did find a few people dressed up in attire from cultures they didn't know a lot about.
It's Halloween night on Granville and Smythe Street in Vancouver, where there are crowds of people in costumes.
We are wearing a Sheikh's costume. It's called Twab. It's called Twab.
Do you know what culture it's from?
It's from Arab religion, I guess.
Okay. Is that your guys' culture?
No.
No? Okay.
No, we're just we respect all religions and we're just part of the festival.
So why did you pick this costume?
It was a last-minute one. On Saturday, I was a witch, and then it was a costume that I was supposed to wear today, but I didn't have my hat.
What is your makeup of? What are you supposed to be?
Sugar flower.
Sugar flower. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's from
Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Dia de los Muertos, I believe.
Yeah. Do you know much about it, or was it kind of just
Sorry. Yeah. It's more random. Yeah. I took out, but I don't know. Yeah.
As we just heard, one person we talked to in downtown was wearing a costume of what she called a sugar flower. This is part of Mexican culture that is derived from the Day of the Dead celebration. We asked Lily Carvalho, the executive director of the Vancouver Latin American Cultural Center, about if it's ever appropriate to dress up as another culture as a Halloween costume.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that, of course, everything is in the intention you put on it, but because you are out there in your costume, people will know if you're celebrating or mocking. And so that's why we should be careful. Your intention won't be clear when you choose your costume. So you really should, think twice.
So from what Lily just mentioned about thinking twice about a certain costume, that seems to be sticking with people. Owner Maureen Q from Disguise the Limit Costume Rentals in Victoria says the interest in costumes from different cultures have considerably gone down in popularity.
Absolutely renting less or none. People are unsure or they're just not comfortable not knowing if it's appropriate or not. So they just don't. So wouldn't be doing, any tiger lilies. Aladdin still, there's certain costumes that people don't associate necessarily with a culture. They associate with a childhood love of a character. So yeah, I think it's great that the conversations are happening, but definitely people are staying away from any ones that have a strong cultural reference that is not their own.
I think it was something probably every little kid has done at some point growing up, where they'll want to dress up as a character like Disney's Jasmine or another character from a beloved movie or person from history. But Aaliyah and I were having this discussion when researching for this project about if we should be giving a pass to children when it comes to character costumes from different cultures. This is what Vivian and Lily had to say.
I think it's okay not to have those costumes as a choice. You can be a plumber, like a princess, but it doesn't have to be that specific person from that specific place. If Pocahontas is not okay, I think it's not okay without understanding more context. I know it sounds maybe a little, it may seem a bit harsh in some ways, but I think there are different ways of exposing kids to different cultures. I think at one point it will go. I'm pretty sure people will start looking into it and say, there's so many other costume ideas. Like, people lack imagination. There's just so much stuff we can do, right? That's not about representing people we don't know.
Like, I cringe when I think that I dressed as an indigenous person when I was a little kid back in Brazil, which was considered totally fine. And now there is a new, better developed thought around that you shouldn't do that.
So, what conclusions have we come to after talking to different experts and researching this topic? Can we definitively say what kinds of cultural costumes are okay and the ones that are not?
It seems to be a couple of things in combination, but I think Lily does a really great job at summing it up with this quote.
You should do your own homework, and so try to learn more about other cultures. Be on the safe side of things and dress like a couple of friends of mine dress as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That won't have any cultural problem. And so if you can be creative in a way that you're not going to be risking offending someone, why not?
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us for Culture and Costumes Navigating Boundaries. My name is Caitlin No.
And I'm Aaliyah Andres. Look out for more episodes created by our students at BCIT Journalism and 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. You're listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle with your 12:30 p.m. news headlines. Paramedics say 11 people were taken to hospital after a school bus carrying high schoolers crashed into a Burnaby home this morning. BC Emergency Health Services say no injuries were severe and those transported to hospital are all in stable condition. The crash happened just before 8 a.m. around Canada Way and 16th Avenue. According to Mounties, the bus and another vehicle hit each other, which then sent the bus crashing into a house. It's still unclear what caused the initial crash, but RCMP say no one was badly hurt. Over in Surrey, a motorcyclist and a school bus collided this morning. The crash happened around 7 a.m. Both the bus driver and motorcyclist were taken to hospital. It's unclear how serious the injuries are. According to the RCMP, there were no passengers on board the school bus at the time of the crash besides the driver. Road closures in the area have since been lifted. Locked out workers for Rogers Communication are protesting outside the Rogers Tower in downtown Vancouver this afternoon. Our reporter Jake McGrail has more on this ongoing dispute.
The around 300 technicians locked out by Rogers want to send a message to the company on day 4 of the lockout. The workers are members of the United Steelworkers Union and served 72-hour strike notice last Friday. Now, the USW is claiming that Rogers is using temporary workers, referred to as scabs by labor unions, to keep their operations going. Rogers stated that they activated their contingency plans, which includes, quote, redeploying employees and contractors, end quote. Just this morning, the federal government tabled Bill C-58, which would ban employers from using replacement workers during a union strike. Jake McGrail, 1680 The Crow.
The deputy BC Green leader has been fired after liking a post that compared Bonnie Henry and a Nazi doctor, known for performing deadly experiments on prisoners during the Second World War. Dr. Sanjeev Gandhi has resigned as a Green candidate in the 2024 provincial election. An online message posted yesterday by the BC Green leader Sonia Furstenau says Gandhi was removed when she first learned the details. Furstenau says Gandhi's actions were unacceptable and accepts his resignation. The federal government is providing nearly $185 million to help fund 2 hydro projects in Manitoba. The funding will be used to replace 8 aging hydroelectric generating units. The new units are expected to help provide power to an additional 35,000 homes. There will also be the construction of a new transmission line for southwest Manitoba. The province says this will help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions at the Brandon Generating Station by about 37%. There has been an update on the Israel-Hamas war as the White House says Israel has agreed to 4-hour daily pauses in Gaza fighting to allow civilians to flee. Karen Travers with ABC has more.
The White House says Israel agreeing to a daily 4-hour pause in strikes on areas of northern Gaza is a, quote, step in the right direction. National Security spokesman John Kirby told reporters Thursday the pause will allow for more humanitarian aid into localized areas in Gaza and could provide enough of a window of time to help civilians get to safety. As for the hostages held by Hamas,
it could also provide brief windows of opportunity for safe passage for those hostages from where they're being held to safer ground.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Global Affairs Canada says 32 more Canadians were able to leave the Gaza Strip for Egypt today after a key border crossing reopened. Tuesday was the first day about 75 Canadian citizens were able to leave the territory since the war began about a month ago. The actors' strike is officially over, and the head of Canada's largest movie theatre chain is pleased about it. President and CEO of Cineplex, Ellis Jacobs, says he's still watching for disruptions to the film slate. The Canadian Press has the audio.
Everybody still is asking what's going to happen going forward. Yes, there'll be a delay or two, but the bottom line is these movies aren't disappearing. They're just going to be shifting slightly, and that to me is very important.
Thank you for listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Jocelyn Chappelle, and those were your 12:30 p.m. news headlines.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Microlink, connecting you with your BCIT community. Hello everybody, my name is Tatiana Yakovleva and welcome to the first episode of Microlink for the fall term. I'm excited to be back. This episode has a lot in store for us. But first, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which BCIT's main campuses are located is the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the shared traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations. To start us off, I sat down with Celine Loriot, the president of the Student Association, to talk about the new executive board, what their visions are, and what's next for us. Celine, why don't you introduce yourself?
So my name is Celine. I am the president of the BCIT SA and a nursing student at BCIT.
That's awesome. And with so many BCIT students, it's never just being a student. Everyone does so much, right?
Of course. I feel like there's a bit of something for everyone at BCIT.
Right. So let's start with a few students. Can you tell us something about the 2023-2024 executive team? What's the vibe? What's the energy? What are you guys bringing to the table?
So I feel so fortunate to be working with such an enthusiastic team. So please don't mind if I rave about some of them. Charlene, the chair of health sciences, is a fellow classmate and nursing student like me. She's an avid runner and hiker. Also, she is pursuing her neonatal specialty. Shelby, the VP Equity and Sustainability, is an accounting student and has an appreciation for Shrek. I feel like a lot of us do.
That's my girl.
And her cat named Kevin. Simran, the chair of Business and Media, is an international student who has a bachelor's in French from India. Also, she keeps students safe as a security guard at BCIT. Abdul is studying architecture and building technology. He likes sports and cars, but only the fast ones. Justin is the chair of computing and academic studies. He is in the computer systems technology program and the voice of Raisin Crane in the Strawberry Shortcake series and volunteers at RAPS Cat Sanctuary in Richmond once a week. Daniel, the chair of specialized transport, is studying aircraft maintenance engineering. He is also serving Canada in the armed forces.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very dedicated. Lastly, Jimmy, the VP External, is an electrical engineer student and a Lego connoisseur. I could go on about Mia, Rishank, Josh, and Matthew. And if I did, we'd probably be here for a couple hours.
That's fair. We did hear from Mia and Vershank and a lot of the returning execs already. If you haven't checked out the previous interviews, I strongly recommend to doing so. Well, Celine, enough about your team. I want to hear about you. What do you bring to the executive team as the president?
As I mentioned, I am a nursing student in my final year, so I've really honed how to stay calm under pressure and how to think critically. Before this role, I served at the BCIT SA Chair of Health Sciences, and based on that, I know how it feels to be new at the SA. Therefore, I really try my best to set up my executives for success by regularly checking in, acting as a soundboard for new ideas, and encouraging self-care in work-life balance. I firmly believe that the president should share power and leadership is best when it's collaborative. My priority is that students should feel seen, heard, and valued. It's not about being president that motivates me, it is serving the SA mandate of enhancing student life.
Can you briefly touch on what enhancing student life means to you?
So, enhancing student life is really listening to the students and delivering on what their current needs are. One of these mission projects that I'm working on is supporting students' mental health and awareness at BCIT. I plan on continuing with my Campus Convos events, which are mental health workshops with guest speakers shared over a meal at small round tables. This was actually a shared initiative with Josh Liu, the VP Student Experience that we started last year. So I'm definitely excited to continue with this initiative. Also, I want to boost student resilience and foster that sense of community by hosting more social events. I want to make BCIT more fun.
I personally root for paint night, so maybe you can make it happen one day.
For sure.
Okay, we got one vote in. Hopefully it'll get through. As a nursing student, what is the value of mental health? I'm sure you know that more than I do. So can you please briefly touch on that and the magnitude that it carries?
So I started my nursing studies in the peak of COVID.
Right.
And that was the strangest time of my life, right? Because instead of practicing in the community, we were practicing with simulation mannequins, right? So I think for me, mental health is so important because the pandemic made us more disconnected, right? And I think being a nursing student puts me in a unique position to really be in tune with what's going on around me in my environment and have a sense of what's going on for people and how I can really use my compassion to help others. Yeah, I think that's why mental health awareness, especially for students at BCIT, is so important to me.
Is that the main reason you got into nursing?
Yes, because I have had the privilege of growing up with lots of inspirational nurses, and I think just seeing the impact they had on their communities and, you know, sure, no one is ever going to remember their names all the time, but people remember how they made them feel. And I think that is really what inspired me to get into nursing, because I want to have that kind of impact on someone. Yeah, make them know that I didn't give up, that, you know, no matter what, I'm there for them.
I love the quote that it's more about how nurses make people feel, because in medical or mental health aspects, it's so vulnerable.
Yes.
And having a right attitude just makes the difference so much. But we'll stray away from that topic and we'll come back to the initiatives. Are there any other initiatives that your colleagues have been fostering that you're very excited about?
So I'm excited to work with Shelby Woida, the VP of Equity and Sustainability, to find ways to indigenize the organization. And we are thinking of doing this through consulting with elders on best practices, so we can move more in the direction of promoting reconciliation that is meaningful to us. We hope to achieve this through education and events in collaboration with community partners at BCIT. Mia Bu, the VP of Finance and Administration, plans on continuing her free tax clinic for students. It was very popular and successful last year. I think this is an excellent initiative, as tax time can be stressful for students, and it allows student volunteers to practice their tax skills. Vershank Prabhu, the chair of Energy, is leading the SETREP committee, which is focused on improving the SETREP program for everyone. And actually, many executives are interested in finding ways to just make it that better experience. And lastly, Justin Saint, the chair of Computing and Academic Studies, plans to continue hosting the annual QDS Hackathon, where teams work together to create solutions to an industry problem. And the winners get prizes and chances to connect with the judges, who are potential employers.
Ooh,
lots of fun stuff happening.
So you mentioned the tax clinic, correct? And I personally can vouch that I volunteered for it last year. Honestly, an amazing experience for those who go there and volunteer there as well. But speaking of taxes and the economy, as you know, that the current economy is not very favorable with the interest rates rising, and it has affected everyone. Currently, there was a referendum last year regarding finances. So how does BCIT Student Association operate in a deficit? And how do you choose your priorities when it comes to limited funds? Because everything has a limited fund. We cannot...
Of course.
Unfortunately, we would love to have unlimited funds, but that's not realistic. So how do you set your priorities in this situation?
It's true that we are in a deficit, and we have chosen not to cut back services to students. Hosting successful events requires thoughtful planning and buy-in from the team. Also, we have options to move funds around to support initiatives. For example, September is jam-packed with student-facing events that we started planning many months in advance. The execs will be present at the events, so please stop by and hang out with us. It'll be great.
Awesome. Well, can you give us a sneak peek of one of those events?
Oh, one of them, we plan on having a pub party where we'll have a DJ and we'll have meal specials. And yeah, I'm really excited just thinking about it.
And besides the social events and gatherings, what do you think that the students at BCIT need the most in this current time?
It isn't easy being a student. Affordability is huge, and we know students need to feel supported during their academic journey, and there are numerous negative impacts from the rising costs of parking, housing, food, education, and textbooks. The list goes on. I see it every day with my classmates, many of whom have to work longer hours or take additional jobs just to make ends meet.
Right.
Additionally, mental health challenges continue to be prevalent, and no student should have to face this alone without adequate support. The SA is here to help, and will keep pushing BCIT and the government to step up even more.
And what does stepping up mean for you in this case?
So stepping up means really addressing these needs and being there for students. We opened a food pantry and we secured student support as a BCIT SA community for increased investments in this program over the coming year. Most importantly, we are constantly advocating to BCIT and the government around parking affordability, student aid, better regulation of international tuition, and increased mental health support.
And as far as I understand, that's the responsibility of VP External to lobby for those things.
Correct.
I know that's not your role, but can you briefly give us a sentence or two to summarize what your colleague does?
So Jimmy, the VP External, he goes on lobby trips with the government relations strategist Stuart. And in those trips, they are purposeful trips where they advocate for students in meetings with government officials.
I'm sure it's very tiring to do so, but I appreciate Jimmy doing that on our behalf. We'll get to the nitty-gritty part. I've heard some rumors that some students feel there is a disconnect between the student association and the students themselves. Do you think that is the case?
We can always do better. And this is top of mind during my presidency. Students connect with us for appointments with advocacy specialists for support with wellness and navigating BCIT educational policies. Also, students enjoy connecting with career specialists as they help give them that extra boost that they need in their careers and connect them with employers at career fairs. We form a council with student representatives across all schools and campuses. Therefore, I strive to find ways to motivate students to join, especially where students can directly have their say and shape the direction of the SA. BCIT attends student consultations with us throughout the year, so this is a great way to let them know what challenges and suggestions you have.
And for want students to get involved and to really voice their opinions, how can they do that? I believe, as far as I know, anyone can sit on the council meetings. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everyone is welcome. We have food. And yeah, it's one of the best ways to stay in the know in what's happening in the student community.
SA itself, there was a 5-year plan called Raising the Bar. What does that mean to you specifically, Celine?
Raising the bar means putting in the work to match words to action. For instance, we want to engage with more students by having more student-facing events throughout the year. Doing so will increase our presence at BCIT and student engagement at times such as the AGM and elections. Our new strategic plan will require everyone to work together in January to determine how we move forward into the future to enhance student life.
And what do you hope will be accomplished by 2024 with this plan?
I hope that students will be able to see our presence and feel that we are here to support them.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the BCIT students listening today?
At the BCIT SA, you choose how you want to be involved. You can join one of our 40-plus clubs, attend Kickstart and Welcome Back events, sign up as a set rep or counselor, or go to our website to learn about all the great services we offer. Please reach out to us if you have questions or concerns and send us your ideas. We are an inclusive and welcoming organization, pet-friendly too.
That is true. I've seen so many cute doggies running around. But I personally lobby for more cats. I'm a cat person. We need more cats.
Yes.
unfortunately, you can't tell them where to go. So that's probably the only hiccup. But to end things off on a maybe slightly lighter note, do you have any advice for upcoming students? A lot of people are starting in September. What do you think a new student at BCIT should know?
At BCIT, there are so many people that would like to help you and so many resources here. And no one is ever going to turn you away if you say you're not okay. And yeah, we are a supportive community and we really want to see our students thrive.
I think it takes effort to reach out, which is why there might be a sort of barrier when it comes to it. But I can say from personal experience, it is worth it. If there is anything, an issue going on, and even if it's not really related to student life, you can always find resources. I personally encourage every listener to really reach out to people. We're only an email away, really, so.
Yeah.
And you can book appointments with Celine and other executives as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So each executive holds their office hours, and one way to find out when we're available is to go on our website and click the link to book an appointment with us. Or even if you just see us in the hallway, talk to us. We're happy to chat.
So now you know how Celine sounds like. So if you hear her voice, you know who she is. That's her. It's like, hi, Celine. But thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that the September will be off to a great start. It sounds like a lot of is cooking up, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, I want to make BCIT fun again.
To continue discussing changes at the Student Association, I sat down with Roland Gagel, the Director of Finance and Interim Executive Director for the SA. He and I discussed what his two current roles entail, how they play into one another, what their differences are, and what they do to make the student life better. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Roland. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Roland Gagel, and I am the Director of Finance and the Interim Executive Director for the Student Association of BCIT.
So, Director of Finance is your main role, correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell me more about your main role?
I've been with the Student Association since 2003, so 20 years now, and my role as the Director of Finance is to oversee the finance and accounting and administration of the Student Association.
And in terms of being Interim Executive Director, how does that look like for you?
I get a lot more emails on a daily basis now. So in terms of the role of the executive director, it's overseeing the operations of all of the staff and acting as a liaison, as a liaison to the board and council. So assisting and supporting them and translating their objectives down to the staff and trying to achieve the goals that they want to have.
And in that position, do you integrate with all of the levels of the Student Association, or is it more of a relay between the board and the employees of the Student Association?
There's obviously a team of people. I don't talk to everybody individually. In totality, the Student Association has about 100 staff, so I don't talk to everyone, and many of the staff are involved with serving the students at our retail stores and things.
Right.
But so I mean, I don't manage all the staff directly. There's a team of directors that I directly liaison with or chat with and inform them or inform them of the board's wishes and just manage the operations from that point.
And how long have you been in this interim role?
Since June.
Okay. And combining this and your main role of Director of Finance, what does your day in your life look like?
It's answering a lot more emails than I used to be doing, and trying to fit in the Director of Finance duties, some of which I've downloaded a little bit to the controller of the Student Association. Everyone's pitching in as best they can to help me out. It's an awful lot, and I certainly don't mind doing it for the benefit of the Student Association. So I certainly can't do it by myself. All of the staff are helping me out as best they can.
And I did hear Little Bird say that you do bike to work.
Do bike to work most days.
Most days. That's a nice start to your routine. Is there anything else that you like in your daily routine to break up the busyness?
Well, I try to make sure I have lunch.
That's always good.
That's always good. Other than that, no, it's bike to work to sort of get some fresh air and get going, and then it's doing the work and trying to answer emails, try to reach out to staff, talk to staff directly. I try not to sit at my desk too much. I do like to chat with people because I find it's a more informative way to bring the team together and sort of move things forward. So yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like the students to know about you and the Student Association?
I've been with the Student Association for 20 years, as I said. I've seen a tremendous amount of growth in the Student Association since I started. It is a completely different organization since when I started in 2003, but the mission has always stayed the same. All of the staff are dedicated to tagline. It's not just a tagline, it's the mission of the Student Association, which is enhancing student life. I'm always striving to make the Student Association better, but always better in the sense of trying to make things better for students, because the students are the members of the Student Association.
And how does that betterment look like in the next 5 years for you?
Well, there's a number of projects on the table in the short term in improving the food pantry, food security program. We've recently hired a food security coordinator as per the referendum that was passed last spring by the students. So enhancing that program, part of the objectives of that program is to bring it to the other campuses where possible. How that is actually going to look is still to be determined, but we're working on that because we fully understand the need of food security exists at all campuses. We're still working on with BCIT to determine where additional space for the Student Association could be on campus. That is part of the mandate of the Student Association. And so that's still in the works. It's taking a little longer than we anticipated just because of the complexity of the negotiations with BCIT and the need to find the space and then to pay for it. We are collecting a new building fee to facilitate the building of a new space or acquiring a new space, however that may be, and there's just a lot. It's a complex thing, so we're still working on that. And then just in general, just trying to strive that all of our services are a little bit better every year, and make the delivery of services to students more efficient, more effective, and of more value to students.
And you talked about the consequences of the referendum. Is there any other ripple effect that students may not notice in their daily life?
With respect to the food security program, we brought that forward. It was brought forward by council to the students, and they voted in a positive manner to increase the fee as it relates specifically to the food security program, and now we're just rolling that out. the ripple effect there is just to be of benefit to students, because the students found that to be of value. I can't really think of any other ripple effects. It's just all in the package or mandate to enhance student life.
And I talked to Celine about involving more student events. Is that something you're currently working on, or is it something that you don't oversee as much?
I am certainly working on it, not directly, but the council and the board has communicated that wish to me to have more actual student life on campus in terms of events, and I've communicated that to the other staff, and we are working on that. So, for instance, we did have the party at the pub on September 22nd, which was quite successful, and we've heard from students that they enjoyed that very much, and that seemed to go well. And we're in the process of planning another party for Halloween, and probably another kind of a party at the end of November. And we intend to continue planning more events, both bigger events and smaller events, to provide more life on campus.
What was some of the feedback that you received from the students during the Habitat Pub party?
Generally positive. They all seemed to have a good time. There was some pickup on the Uber rides that we provided to students for the night of the party. We intend to do that again. With respect to the Halloween party, it was generally well received, and everything went reasonably smoothly. There weren't really any major hiccups as far as I'm aware. So it was generally positive. We're just trying to, for the Halloween party, to expand it a little bit and make it an even bigger event. I'm not going to share any details because that's going to come out in the next week or two, the details as it relates to that. But we're just trying to make the next party bigger and better, more fun.
Will you dress up?
Will I dress up? I hadn't thought about that yet.
That's fair enough. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope those 2 interviews were very insightful for you folks, because they were for me, and I work for the Student Association. Oh, but speaking of, you can check out more Student Association content, events, and things that are happening in the area on the Instagram at BCITSA. Same with Link. Our Instagram is at LinkBCIT. Also, check out our TikTok, run by yours truly. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you in the next one.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.